Hello, welcome back to UniXTCG, and today we're coming at you with another One Piece card game video. And this is a direct follow-up to my last video because I actually had a comment from a gentleman on it talking about a certain deck that he actually believes actually has a good run into both Enel and Sakazuki, and most of the format for that matter, and I actually agree. It's gonna be the next video. I was gonna put it out a little bit later, but now that I see it in the comment, let me just rush it out real quick. And it is a yellow deck. I personally think that Katakuri might have the best sleeper route in order to win nationals, and I will talk about why. So with that being said, if you like this sort of content, make sure you hit that like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 100 likes and beyond. If you haven't subscribed yet, maybe join the UniX fam today, hit that link tree, see everything we have to offer. And if you really want to show a little bit of love, go check out my Dragon Ball channel. It'll be in the description as well. And just as an added cherry on top, probably tomorrow I will have my Katakuri list that I would take if I was going to run it at nationals on the Patreon, as well as explanations for all the choices. So with that being said, let's actually hop into the card view and let's talk about why I think this deck has actually a very, very good chance of taking it the entire distance. So when it comes to Katakuri, we all have known his effects since the beginning of the set 3 meta. Before that, because most of the time we're looking over to the JP side in order to see what's on the horizon. Katakuri is a yellow leader that has he gains plus 1,000 power, and he's able to look at the top card of your or your opponent's life when he attacks with a single Dawn under him, and he's able to place that life at the top or the bottom. Obviously he's up on screen right now, so you guys can just read him, but this is just the beginning for why he is so viable. I'm going to put it out right here. We are going to talk about just like his effect real quick. Being able to check the top card of your life and put it at the top or the bottom is going to be able to stack your triggers. You'll be able to see something like a Thunderbolt and go, it's early in the game, I don't want to have this trigger right now. You're going to be able to check and see a Gang Beige and be like, it's pretty early in the game, I don't want to see this right now. You're going to be able to look at a card like a Sanji and be like, that's really cool, or a Cracker, I'm gonna keep this where it is. And so you're able to better align your triggers, take out some of more of the variance parts of it. But the other cool thing is being able to check your opponent's life, something that doesn't always get used as much, but I think in this format it's better than ever. There are so many combination plays that a Sakazuki deck will play to get rid of your bigger drops, and you can see an Ice Age and put it at the bottom of their life. You can see something else that's like very pivotal, a Houndblaze, and not sure if they've searched or not, and put it at the bottom because you're like, you know what, no. Against the Mirror or the Enel matchup, it's very good too, being able to look at your opponent's triggers, being able to look at them and be like, nah, you're not getting this Cracker this early in the game. Nah, you know what, let me keep this Beige here when it's my literal second swing of the game and I don't really care about it. So you have a lot of things that you can do here, and that's actually pretty cool. Now the other part is, of course, the number 7. Any 5k leader is going to have their hand folded very quickly. Every time you swing for 7, they either take the damage or they have to get rid of at a minimum 2 cards if they're going off of just counter value and not an effect off of an event card. So that's actually a lot of momentum. A person can only take so many 7k swings, but at the same time, when you have a 6k leader like Whitebeard, or a 6k leader like red purple Luffy, or even a 6k leader like yellow Yamato, if you happen to see it, some rogue matchup, once it gets late enough in the game, you're going to be able to only put 2 Dawn on your leader and still hit them at a position where they have to get rid of 2 cards if they're going on a counter value again. That's the beauty of this. Most other decks, to get up to that magic number against a 6k leader, which is 8k, you have to devote 3 Dawn. Katakuri still only has to devote 2, and that's very good. So as the leader, you have a lot of utility just off of that. We've already spent 3 minutes pretty much talking about Katakuri just as a leader, and that's not even the best part. He is a Big Mom Pirates, Charlotte Pirates leader, which means you're going to be able to use the best boss card in the game, in my opinion, which is Big Mom. Now, 10-drop Big Mom has a lot going for it. One, its effect is monstrous. Going up 1 life and having your opponent lose 1 life is just crazy. It's just an honestly crazy effect. Everybody knows how crazy the effect is. On top of that, its 12k body is very, very, very large. It's going to be very hard to swing over it. Yellow is in no short of 2Ks, and they've even got more defensive options, such as the ones we are about to talk about in a minute. And so you really are sitting at a point where Katakuri is able to play the best boss card in the game, and that means its late game should be unmatched for the most part, but its early game is also unmatched. You can have aggro decks, but Katakuri organically swings for a 7k, so you have a really strong early game, mid game pressure just off your leader alone, guaranteed once per turn, but then you're going to cruise into a late game that's just full of threats. So the other thing about Big Mom is that not only is it easy to protect, it's very easy to push in. It has a great on-play effect, so you know even if it gets removed next turn, it's done its job to a fair degree. Big Mom also is going to be a stumbling block for pretty much everything else in the meta. Sakazuki has a hard time removing 10 drops. You need a combination of Kuzan, Ice Age, another card, plus your removal card, unless you already have the 10 drop Kuzan on board, which is a valid tech that we can get into in another video. Whereas in the mirror, it's almost untouchable. You need to swing over it, or it's just there. So once you resolve a 10 drop Big Mom, Enel will have to literally just try to play around it. And if you resolve 2 10 drop Big Moms, it's going to be extremely hard for that deck to really get around this. Now, the other thing I want to talk about with Big Mom as a card in general is that when you look at life gain, Enel only cycles through its life when it's low. You have to be at 1 life going down to 0 to use the leader effect. You have to be at 1 life or 0 life to use Yamato's effect. Now, you do have the 1000 volts. That is going to change things a little bit. You can trade some hand for some extra life. However, for the most part, you have to be at a low life to start getting stuff back. Now, this is not a problem whatsoever for Katakuri, because you can be at 2 life, you can be at 3 life. Yeah, I'm looking at 1,000 million volts Amaru, yeah. So you can be at 1 life, you can be at 2 life, right? However, you could also be at 3 life. If your opponent has been dealing with your triggers on board, if your opponent has been unsuccessfully pressuring you, you could be at 4 life and play Big Mom and go up to 5. This leads to some games where Katakuri is able to landslide and you're sitting at 6, 7 life while your opponent is about to die. And that cannot be overstated how good that is. That is insane in terms of value. So when it comes to that, Katakuri is very much so just a very, very strong deck that can have the ability to, as lots of people would know with its old name, Casino Curry, high roll to the point where your opponent is just looking at 7 life while you have 2 Big Moms on board, a Katakuri, things like that. So when it comes to other boss cards, right, you're not really too much, too pressed to like talk about certain cards like Katakuri, because Enel and Katakuri can play the same amount of Katakuris, less, more, same thing. But dare I say, Enel, the SR, I like it better in Katakuri than I do in Enel. In Enel, yes, it is a 7-for-7 rusher, has some protection, amazing. But in Katakuri, you're already an aggressive deck, and the turns where you're already pressing your opponent, you have a high amount of life, you know those lives are full of like triggers. Swinging for 7 with Katakuri and then tapping 7 and swinging for 7 again with Enel is a very strong play. Your opponent already just got beat down for 7 7k power, and then they have to immediately deal with it again and be like, did you deal with it before? Can you deal with it again? That's either another damage, something else dead, or 2 more cards out of hand. So I do think Enel is a great card, and even better in Katakuri, where you are already focusing on offensive pressure. And when you look at this combined with over 30 triggers, sometimes about 30, maybe 32 triggers, Katakuri is a deck where you're afraid to swing into the life, because a Cracker, a Smoothie, a Parasparrow, a Sanji, all these cards can potentially just be more swings on top of the swing that the leader is already providing. You've got Rush now in the form of Enel. You have the best boss card, in my opinion, in the game, Big Mom, on tap. You got 2 cards that search it out between Pudding and Parasparrow getting killed. Although, let's be real, it's a little harder to get Parasparrow to get KO'd now that Sakazuki's in the game. But it still can't happen against every other deck. So when you look at this, Katakuri's high roll is very, very strong. And with the addition of cards like El Thor, like 200 million volts, sorry, I completely forgot the last one I was about to talk about, Enel, the Rusher, you really are sitting on Katakuri plus. And with the Big Mom package, with actual 10-drop Big Mom at the top, I think you're really sitting here looking at a very, very, very good place to be going into Nationals. Against Sakazuki, you're pressuring them with 7s before they can put their blocking on the board, either ripping through their life or ripping through their ripping through their life or ripping through their hand. Then you're getting triggers. Every time they do decide to hit you, you can add bodies onto the board, and that can make it harder for them to take you down. When you go for things like Enel, you can decide to give up health to keep Enel on the board, but Enel's coming down and swinging again, allowing you to do those double 7k pushes against Sakazuki, especially when they've already used a blocker to compensate. You have a whole arsenal full of tricks in your life via your triggers, and you're able to keep replenishing that life. Big Mom comes down the board, and they need to handle it immediately, despite you maybe even having 2 to 3 more threats on the board. Then if they don't handle Big Mom and you play a second Big Mom, that's a game that almost runs away from them. Move on to the other big bag, and you have Enel. You have no problem attacking through them, but you can also start looking at their triggers. You can take the game slower a little bit because you know their game is going to be slower. So instead of even focusing on your triggers the entire time, you can start checking theirs to make sure that they're not getting something very, very, very dumb. You can start to see what you're like kind of pushing into their hand. You can put things on the bottom and then kind of wait for those later. You have a lot of manipulation you can do, but towards the end of the game, if you want to focus on their board when they swing stuff at you, if you want to focus on their board or moving their board, you can start playing Big Moms, and Big Moms can just start killing the cards from their life. And the reason why this is such a good event, or an avenue for you for victory, is simply because when you start burning them, they're not getting those cards to the hand, and that means that when you start pressing that leader effect off of Enel, they have less cards to discard to start gaining that life. And when Enel runs out of cards in hand, it's GG. So you really have that sort of area for them to go off of. And then when you look at the other decks, Purple Luffy wants to play a long game. Well, you are again burning the wick from both sides. You're pressuring them early game, you have a rusher, and then you have Big Mom to start really bolstering your life while really destroying theirs. Katakuri getting rid of almost anything on their board minus their Kaido, and then Big Mom being able to blow their life to Kingdom Come. You have the red-purple matchup, which can be a little scarier because Whitebeard is a thing, but you still have the ability to high roll, gain life, pressure, and he only has 3 life. So if you pressure him too many times, like if you just connect a couple times, it's rough. And being a 7k base leader with 1 Dawn under him, he can really start to put the pressure on once you start adding 2 Dawn on a swing. So realistically, you are looking at a deck that does a lot. Now, you're still going to have the yellow weaknesses like Law. If you happen to run into original set 1 Law, that's going to be a little scary. But against Zoro, I think Zoro is hard pressed to beat Katakuri. Katakuri will put pressure on while building its board. It can go either way. I do think Zoro can still put up a pretty good game. I think Whitebeard can actually put up a pretty good game too, but I do think that Katakuri has kind of vaulted to a prestigious spot with the inclusion of the cards that it got out of Enel. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys feel about Katakuri. If you guys think that Katakuri has a better chance than Enel. If you think Katakuri is a really good pick into both Sakazuki, Enel, and most of the format, let me know in the comments. I'll be excited to hear it. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. We're going to go to the Patreon appreciation page, and we're going to talk about the stuff there. And then, yeah, like I said, in the next day or so, I'll put my Katakuri list with a detailed explanation on why each card is there and how I feel about the matchup. So with that being said, I will see you guys later. And yeah, let's give that Patreon shout out. All right, and as per usual, we are giving another Patreon shout out to the members that help this channel and brand grow, giving that little extra oomph. On this Patreon article page, you can find articles that are too long to go on the channel, but you're also going to start seeing the deck lists that go into it. That's something I'm going to start doing a lot more, showing the gameplay on the channel, but the actual deck list on the Patreon with explanations. Soon we're going to have some Dragon Ball Super Fusion World articles that go up, and we're still going to try to do our giveaways, still trying to hunt down another box of OP05. It's hard to find right now, but yes. So I'd like to thank you guys all. And then on top of that, we're going to give a special vocal shout out to the realm of Xers, the Birars, the Brycears, and the Big Daddy Flapjacks of the world. Thank you guys for giving the extra mile to this channel, and I appreciate everything you guys do. I'll see you guys in the next video, and watch out for the Katakuri list coming up soon.